If we first start with a broken tooth, happens unfortunately to a lot of us, myself included. If one breaks a tooth, could be for a number of different reasons. Let's start with we've lost a filling or we've chipped something on something that we were eating that was a bit hard. Two real ways of looking after this at home. The first is we're going to try and remove the sharp edge. It can cause ulceration, and if it's in the lower jaws and one of the bottom teeth, it can cut your tongue. If it cuts your tongue, it can be really sore, and it can affect swallowing, can affect speech, and can start to affect your throat as well. So let's deal with that. If you can get hold of an emery board or nail file or similar, what you want to do is snap that in half. Trying to use something that's quite long is going to be difficult to manipulate in a small space, and the mouth is a small space. So if we can crack that in half, then we've got something that's going to be a little easier to use. Once we've done that, if you can do it yourself, great, or ask your partner, or if you trust them, your children to help. Again, always a good idea to get a good light source here. The camera phone's torch is good, or if you haven't got that, a nice well-lit room. When you've got your now small emery board or similar, locate the sharp section. The easiest thing to do there is to put your finger on it rather than your tongue. Your tongue's already going to be sore. Don't do that. Put your finger on it, and then either yourself or whoever's going to be helping you, guide them to that, and slowly and carefully, so you don't go bashing yourself with the emery board, take the edge off. Now that might take a little while, and the tip here is to just take your time. Take your time, take your time. Once the emery board has lost its coarseness, you might need to flop it over or change to the other half that you broke off earlier on. And eventually just keep checking till the edge is gone. If that doesn't appeal or doesn't work, then the second is you can try and cover it over. Now, covering it over is a little bit more difficult. Temporarily, so to give yourself a little bit of respite, one could use some chewing gum. So chewing gum's easy. We can get that from the shops on our essential shopping trip that we're allowed to do. Get some of that, obviously chew it all up, and you can pop that over the top. Now that's going to give you some respite from the area, and sometimes it's long enough to allow the surrounding tissues to heal up. Now, if they heal up, sometimes they heal up with a little bit of a callus, like you would do on the back of your hand if you were doing a lot of gardening, that sort of thing, and so it doesn't hurt quite so much later on. If we can't do that, we want something that's a bit longer term fix, then you're going to have to try and get hold of some temporary filling material or a temporary dressing off the internet. Now, they definitely do exist. I looked a little earlier today, the 2nd of April, and they're not expensive, sort of between £5 and £15. The important thing with all of them is to read the instructions before you start. And again, it is helpful to have a second pair of hands and have some cotton wool around. The cotton wool is going to be there to dry that area. So we're going to mix up the temporary material as the instructions. Once we've got that mixed, we're going to dry the area. So easy things to do. And then put the cotton wool in place and maybe get that helpful other to pop the lip or the cheek to one side, again, so you can see it better. Sometimes it's easier just to wet your fingertips, either with some water or with some Vaseline. That just stops the material sticking to everything. And this stuff is sticky. So once you've got that, you get it into your fingers, and then you compress it into position. Again, bite together now, so that when the material sets hard, it doesn't leave you high in your bite, because that in itself can cause other problems. So bite together onto the material, so that we've then got a nice, tidy seal, and the biting position is correct. Then just finish with your finger, just press it into place. Again, I would use a little bit of Vaseline or similar on the tip of my finger, just so it doesn't stick and go all over everywhere. And that should have solved the problem.